Hey there, thanks for coming to watch my YouTube channel. I did a video in real time of a painting I did recently, and I'm going to do a voiceover and just tell you my thoughts about what products I used and what colors I was using and what I was thinking along the way. It's a 30-minute video that I got most of the painting done. I probably did a little touch-ups after the end, but I hope you enjoy it. Bye. Okay, so here I am. I'm actually painting in my dining room, which I took over and made it into a little art studio. And I have already I have a linen canvas, and I've already toned it with, I think it might be burnt sienna, and I'm adding marks to match the grid lines on the left. This is a picture of a girl I took at a beach. I don't know who she is, but she was in front of me at my beach chair there. There's an app called Grid that I use to lay the grid over the photograph. So now I'm just trying to make marks. I've got burnt sienna that I'm doing that with. And on the right, it's a very small brush. On the right is a lid to, I just save lids to all sorts of jars, and I'm putting in the sand line there right now, trying to mark out my main shapes. I have the photograph. There is a wave that I cut off, and I do add it later, but I zoomed in on the photograph, which is why you can't see the wave. So anyway, about the lids, I save them, and then what I do is I put in odorless mineral spirits, but in this case, it is a lavender spike oil by, I'm trying to remember the name of the brand. But so I put a little bit of that in there to thin down the paint as I'm sketching. And then I just toss the lid. Sometimes I save them, but I toss the lid when I'm done. When I'm done with the block-in stage, I then add lean. It's by the same group of people. I'll add a note as to who makes it, but which I love, and it's the lean version of the medium. I have that, it came as a group. I also have the fat version, so at the very end, it's more like if I let a painting dry and I come back to work on it later, I'll use the fat, because you're supposed to start lean on the bottom and get fat, meaning more oil, to the oil paint as you're painting along in layers. You don't want the leaner layer on top. You want it to get fatter. There's many ways to do that. The oil paint is all pigment with linseed oil, so it already has oil in it. But anyway, so here I am, still just trying to sketch out the major shapes of the child. I have sometimes I have in my palette, this is a palette saver palette. It has a blue lid. I used to have glass in the bottom, and it just got old and I threw it out. Now it's an actual palette. I'll see if I can get the name of it and put it on the video. I prefer working on glass rather than working on wood, which I know some people like to do as well. When I am not finished with my painting and I think I might, here's me messing something up with the size or shape, and you can see I just wiped it out. I dabbed that paper towel. I use Viva paper towels, and I dabbed that into the lavender spike oil, and that just, you can see it left a white mark. It took the ground color off. So I had realized that, per the grid, that the top of her pail was too big, too high, so I just shortened it up. So back to the palette box. It has a blue lid. If I think I'm going to paint a little bit tomorrow or the next day and I want to save my paint, I put the blue lid on, and then you make sure it's secure, and then I push down on the top middle of the lid, and it pushes the air out, and it helps keep the paint. I don't find that it works great if I'm gonna have the paint sitting there for longer than like 2 days. Some of the paints, like the burnt siennas and the ochres and such, they dry really fast, and some of them last way longer than the others. Like I want to say Cad Red will last quite a while. What else can I tell you? So in the far left, I have odorless mineral spirits Gamsol in that silver container, and I have right to the left of it, you can't really see it, just a cup of holding palette knives if I decide to use them. In that wooden box, I have all sorts of colors of oil paint, and then sort of right behind that, different mediums. I've used Neo McGilp, I think it's called, which I like a lot. I've used Galkid, and I've used, oh gosh, what's the name of the one? There's one that dries really fast. Liquin. I like Liquin, but it will make the oil paint dry much faster, which maybe you like. It would be dry, it seems like, by maybe the next day. Oh, that's my dog in the background getting into popcorn. He's now stolen the popcorn bag, and he's dragging it into his bed behind me. I've got Smart Food popcorn all over the floor behind me. I just like it when the paint doesn't dry super fast, because then I can work into it like the next day more easily. Here I am pulling out color again, tweaking the shapes or sizes. The brushes you can't see, but behind this tabletop easel is a big like pottery jar holding a bunch of brushes. I don't know, it's probably 50 brushes in there. And I like using flats the best with some sort of a spring to them. What sizes? I want to say like 8s and 10s, but I'll double check that. I have all different kinds, and I have some bigger ones too. I do like rosemary brushes, and I have quite a few of those, like ivory flats, and all different kinds. But I also go to Jerry's Artorama, which is in New Jersey, only 45 minutes from my house, and I'll pick up different brushes from there that I like as well. So I'm just starting to get a little darker with, you can see I'm sticking with no color here, really. I mean, it's color because it's burnt sienna, and I might have a little bit of ultramarine blue in there mixed in. Still got it thinned out with the lavender spike oil, which I think it smells really nice. It is a strong lavender smell, so I think people who don't like strong scents may not like it, but I think it smells great. I'm gonna reach down and get the popcorn bag away. Give me that. All right. So the colors that I have on my palette, see if I can remember. I have alizarin in the top, go along the top of the box. It looks like I've got alizarin crimson. Oh, I'm putting in the wave right now. I'm doing it by using the lavender spike oil on the paper towel, and I'm removing color to leave a spot where I would like a wave. in the background, even though you can't see in the picture. Like I said, I had zoomed in. I have alizarin crimson in that far left corner. I think that's a cad red, or might be scarlet red. Cad orange, looks like cad yellow. I have yellow ochre, looks like. I have a burnt sienna and might be burnt umber to the right, which has got a sort of yellower undertone. On the going up the left side, I have a phthalo blue-green shade as the bottom one on the left, which you can't see now. Here I am blocking in the ocean now. There, you can see how thin it is. I have ultramarine blue, which you can't see right now because my arm's in the way. Ultramarine blue is ahead of that. On top of that is a video blue extra pale. And I think that might be cerulean above that. Don't quite remember. So still, you can even see like there's not a ton of paint that I put out for each one. I think I have white on there too. I always put white on the right. You don't need a ton of paint. I used to, when I first started painting, I put everything on way too thickly. And I've learned over time to start out really kind of thin, especially in the shadows, and then work up to more thickness, keeping the thickness more where the focal point is, and or really bright lights. And I eventually did make this, you'll see as we go along, I did have to, after this video, make that wave less white, because it's in the distance. And so with atmospheric perspective, when you want to push something back, you want to dull the color and maybe add a little hint of blue. Somebody once described it as the atmosphere is, oh, here I am adding more of the lavender spike oil. I wish I could see the brand as I was moving it along. Somebody once described it as thinking about the atmosphere as layers upon layers, like of curtains hanging, and the curtain with the tiniest hint of blue. And if you had multiple curtains hanging one behind another, as far back in the distance as you would go, as you're looking through more and more of those curtains, it's going to look bluer as the farther back it goes. It might look purple too, or gray, but the colors definitely would be more dull. So when I finished this painting and I saw the wave was a little too white, it seemed to float too far into the foreground. So I added some purple to, something like grayish purple, to push it back. So it looks like I've got some burnt umber going on in there, so maybe some burnt sienna. Still just blocking in like major shapes. What drew me to this painting was I really liked the color of the orange pail. She was collecting seashells, I think, against her bright blue bathing suit. Blue and orange being complementary colors. I thought that was, that's what struck my eye. And I don't know who this girl is, but as I painted her more and more and started to finish, I realized that she looked just like my daughter. My daughter, who's now almost 21 years old, she looks like her when she was little, so it was sweet for me to paint. So I just dunked that particular brush into the odorless mineral spirits on the left in the silver can. You know, I could have also cleaned it off with the lavender spike oil, but that's more expensive, significantly more expensive. So I careful with how much I use of it. You could use it to clean your brushes too if you wanted. I try to keep the brushes that I use to certain color groups. So I'll have one that's more in the blues. I'll have a different one that's more for like the sandy color, and different one probably for the... Now here's me putting now the medium. That was a little bit of the lean medium. You can probably, I don't know if you saw it, but it said lean on the front. A lot of people just go straight to using the oil paint at this point, because the oil paint has oil in it, so it's naturally going to be a, fatter layer. But some paints, depending on the brand, or even more so like the color itself, they just don't flow as well. They're just drier. Maybe that has something to do with age. I'm sure it has something to do with the pigment. Excuse me. Sometimes I need a little medium to get the flow going, thin it out a little bit. I haven't even used it yet. So I'm starting with the pale, the sand pale, because that was what most attracted me to the scene. And I'm working on getting the shadowing. I want that really pop of saturated color to stand out, and then I'm working on getting the shadow to go around on the left side. So I've been saying I like to keep brushes sort of by their color family, because if I was to use this brush that's in the orange paint and then start to work, like do a quick wipe off and then do her bathing suit, for example, that blue wouldn't look as stunning, because orange and blue, complementary colors put together, will make a gray. They'll dull each other. So if you put them any complementary color side by side, like red and green and purple and yellow, those are both complements. Put them side by side and they will pack a punch, and they will grab the viewer's eye, vibrate in a way. But if you mix them together on your palette, you will dull them down, which is, I wish I had kind of had that concept sink in sooner when I first started painting, because it's just really the key to color mixing. So if you're painting something red and you're like, oh, that looks like Santa Claus suit red, I don't want it that red. Like maybe it's a brick house that you're painting and you don't want it to look like Santa Claus red. You would add a little green to it to dull it down. I mean, there's different ways to do it, but it's one of the ways to do it that I think works great. So you can see, another thing is I move around. I don't like finish one object first before I go on to another. Part of that, I mean, it's strategic, but part of it is, it's if I get bored or frustrated, like I don't have it quite looking the way I want, I will move to another spot, and it works great with keeping my attention and keeping me happy. But the strategic reason to move around is because color is all variable, so it will look lighter or darker or warmer or cooler depending on what color you have put right next to it. So you might think you have it all squared away if you're just doing one object in your painting, but then you start painting around it and all of a sudden it looks different. The color doesn't look like the same color that you had. So it's a good idea to move around. You can see now that I'm putting in the dark blue of the ocean, that white, which was like That white, I never put white on that painting. All I did was use a paper towel in the lavender spike oil and just wipe away the yellow tone that had been on the canvas that had already dried. But now you can see how much that white stands out. And for atmospheric perspective, it's not great because you can see it's not being pushed into the background. It's too far up into the foreground, which is what I work on later. So still keeping it on the thin side, trying to be like loose and not like cover like the ocean area methodically. The ocean is not going to be like one solid set color. So it's better to do it just kind of quickly and intuitively. I'm adding in some green, which is probably coming from that phthalo blue green shade and that video blue extra pale. This is a pretty color, that green. It looks prettier in person. The video only gets it as nice as the colors come out. This video was a half an hour, and so that's about what it took me to do it, plus another maybe 15 minutes after the video, just for some touch-ups. I spend longer on paintings very often. This one somehow just went by pretty quickly. So I'm leaving the girl for last, it seems like, in terms of block-in. And the reason for that is because I almost have never done figures, and it intimidated me. I really wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, so I'm going after the spots that I find are easier to do. When I paint, I find it super relaxing, and painting is wonderful. It's like you have to think when you're doing it. You don't want to think too hard, but because you have to like pay attention about what you're doing, you don't think about other stuff. So whatever's on your mind, it could be worries, or it could be like your to-do list in your head and the million things you have to get done that you have no time to do. That chatter at least in my head, it just stops. It's very relaxing. So I feel often when I paint that I'm in like some time warp. It flies by super fast. I work full time, work a fair amount of hours. I'm in healthcare, and I love my job. But it doesn't leave me a ton of time to paint as much as I'd like. I know there's some people who get up at, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning when it's dark, and they paint then every day. And I would love to do that, but like I just can't seem to. You can see I'm being super loose here. I'm trying to make the motion of choppiness in the water, so it's not flat looking. But it's hard for me to get up when it's dark and paint. I much prefer to paint in natural light. I very often paint in plein air, whether it's in my backyard or I have a strata easel I'll take out wherever that may be, out and about. That's my favorite, is to paint in plein air. But it's not always possible. Like this child, I wouldn't have been able to do it because she probably held that pose for 10 seconds. So I forgot what I was going to say now. I can't really get into the fun thought of painting in the dark early in the morning when I'm half asleep. In the summer, it's nicer because I'm done work around 5:30ish and it's still light out, and I have time at least to plop down in my studio and do some painting. But I'm actually a new empty nester. But having kids, it's hard. Like, even after you're done work, you've got, I don't know, as moms, there's lots to be done. That sucks up your time. I try to get as much painting time as possible then for the weekend. And what I haven't had time to do in the past is to have time to do these sort of videos. These videos take time to edit, and I'm learning. I have my son is expert at it, so he's kind of shown me the ropes a little bit. But I'd like to take more time doing videos like this, and they're a lot of fun to make. You can see that color I'm putting on right now, way too cool. And I figure that out later. So I'm sort of trying to, as I'm putting, it's a little too green too, greenish yellow. I'll figure that out as I go here. So yeah, it's a lot to do the social media, to do videos, and maybe blog a little bit, and to paint. It's not enough hours in the day. So now I'm lightening it up, and eventually I think what I do is add in some yellow to warm it up, because I think I'm looking at it and I don't see, there's me dabbing into the yellow right there. See how it brightens up? It doesn't have to be yellow, and I'm not covering it flatly because sand has divots and it's not all the same level. So I'm trying at this point to warm up the area in different spots so it looks more like the sun's hit it. I'm thinking. I don't know if I like this. So I'm adding white now to try to see what happens when I lighten it up, and I do like that. Now white has the effect, this titanium white, it has the effect of cooling a color too, but I've got yellow in there. So if I added more white to get it even lighter, I would probably want to warm it up a tad with some yellow ochre, probably would be the best, or even the yellow, so that it doesn't look cool, because she's out on the beach on a sunny day, and the sun is hitting that sand. So it's the way I think of it. Like, it would be warm to the touch. And what color, when you look at it, what did I add in there? Looks like a little red, actually, a little tiny bit. What would it look like? Like, what colors, when you look at them, look warm? Like red, oranges, yellows, and what colors? If you think of a room that color, if you were freezing cold, what colors would you want to be near to warm up, and vice versa? If you were hot, what colors feel cooling? So here's me. I took I'm getting tiniest bits of dabs of, I think it's red in there. You only need like a fleck of red, because it's so overpowering that you just start out with little flecks at a time and then add as you go. But that also I learned the hard way. You dip the brush in, which you think is just a little bit, but it'll take over and turn everything red. Phthalos are the same way. Phthalo will take over whatever you got going. It's got to be like a little flick of that color, and it will go a long way. I'm cleaning off some brushes here. I'm looking for a smaller brush. I'm probably going into the bathing suit. Yeah, it looks like I am. Bathing suit's the next easiest area. And I love that color. That color was made with the phthalo blue-green shade. I thought that this video actually took me to the end of the painting, and it didn't. So at the very end, you'll see just a quick flash of the finished painting. Come visit my website, www.kimberlybakerart.com. Would love to see you there. Bye.